we have anybody that hasn't been here before? You guys don't look familiar to me, but hey, with my Alzheimer's, you'll have to always remind me of who you are and your names. I'm Shelley Buswell. I'm one of the co-presidents of UCBA this year. Announcements. Our next meeting is August 8th, and Terry Berger will be presenting. And then please put on your calendar September 12th. It's our UCBA picnic. We used to have it in August, but our Thursday in August always ran back to school night. And so there was a conflict with that. We tried doing it on a Saturday, but coming out of summer, and people's Saturdays are just premium of doing family events. So Saturdays wasn't as successful. So we're going to keep it on our Thursday. It'll be September 12th. For the people that are here, do we do it at 5:30 or 6? With people getting off of work, which works better for you? I'm retired, so I don't care. 6? Okay, so we'll plan on 6.
September's cooler.
Yeah.
Like that.
It's at the Orem City Center Park. It's 300 East Center Street. And this year we are going to have a spinner there and doing a drawing for a spinner to help people want to come. So you have to be in attendance to win the spinner, and you have to be a UCBA member. Otherwise, everybody's welcome. UCBA provides the meat, and they provide the drink, and then if you come, everybody bring a side dish to share.
You share that address somewhere?
I will. It's 300 East Center Street, Orem City Center Park.
That's good.
So, yeah, that will be in September, and we're excited about that. And does anybody here have the contact for the BYU guys that came last year and did the ventilation study? You do? I need to get that from you. I was going to see if maybe they would come talk to us about the findings of their study as we're all getting ready for winter, so like in October-ish. So yeah, I'll do that. We also we've been in kind of a little conversation up here, several members that are already harvesting their honey. We, from what I can see in my hive and what I'm being told, we have had a big spring flow of honey and a lot of honey coming out. Ian said that he, out of his 3 hives, got 3 5-gallon buckets of honey. So he's already collected that much. I pulled a few frames just because I needed, before I left town, to add some space to my hive, and the honey that I got from this spring is fabulous. It's like the best tasting honey that I think I've ever had. So I'm excited about it. I'm sure Terry will be helping cover pulling your honey and what to do with your hives. I will tell you that we have 3 spinners that are UCBA spinners, that if you are a member, you can check those spinners out. They are at Janelle's house. If you're interested, you can either Facebook message me or see me after, and I'll give you Janelle's phone number to hook up with that.
Shelley, did you ever?
Yes, they did find it.
Oh, great.
Yes, we did. We did have the person who had it contacted us, so yes, we got it. Last month, if you were here, we had a presentation about aquatic plants and setting up an aquatic waterer. So I set it up, and all of you saw the plants that she brought and the container that she brought for me. And then I went to Cook's, and I got these little things they're called frog something. Frog was in the name. And put in there, I bought 3 of them. Between her plants and my plants, you can't see the top of the water. I mean, water's there, but it's all filled in that 1 month. So if you would like to do that, or you don't have to go as big as I went. You can do smaller container. I have it in a shady spot in my yard. I put a little bit of lemongrass oil in mine that first day just to attract the bees to come to it. And now that it's completely full, in the shade and then the depth of the water, it keeps the water cooler than my other water sources. But yeah, my bees are landing on the plants, and I have a lot of activity going on there. I did try and put a couple of goldfish in there, and I'm not sure if it was my lemongrass oil or what, but I didn't survive. Much to the sadness of my grandchildren, we had to pull dead fish out. So, yeah, that was interesting.
Tiger.
She got a big pot like that.
Yeah, it was about.
Yeah, it's about that deep. Yeah, it's pretty big, good sized. So, yeah, I'm enjoying it, and I think Keith did too. So I bought a couple of more. They're aquatic. They're kind of like mesh bags to put in there, and then I bought the special aquatic dirt for you to plant stuff in it. These don't need dirt; they just float on the top and grow. And I haven't used them, and I haven't planted anything else in mine since I got it from her. Everything's just going nuts. So I would recommend it, and I'm thinking about another one. It's actually really pretty in my yard. I like it a lot. Any other question about UCBA kind of stuff? So we're going to have Mike present, Mike Schaefer. He's one of our experienced beekeepers. After that, we will open it to questions because there are people that have a lot of questions right now with this time of year. He's going to talk about some heat issues. All of us are kind of looking at our hives and going, and I need to get in my house, but I am not getting in at 102. It's just too hot for me to put gear on. So anyway, Mike, you're up.
Okay.
Tennessee.
Like, am I welcome?
Side. It's like, sewing.
God, this is about I'm not too. Should be. Was boy. So I cheated. He's out this light up. They got the true. Yeah, good.
So hi.
Yeah,
There was not a lot on the website or the Dropbox in regards to some of the topics we were talking about. So although she was saying, question and answer at the end, I think we're going to kind of have a bit of a question and answer all throughout this. Right now, coming down here, it was 107. I was toasty. Like she was saying, she doesn't want to put her bee suit on to go do inspections and so on. Don't blame her. I'm not doing too much in my hives right now until later evening or early morning. But some of the things you can do would be screened bottom boards. If you're not running screened bottom board, I would recommend doing so. That doesn't mean that you need to change your bottom boards out spring and summer type thing, winter, summer. I'm going to sneeze here, and at least I can feel it. Anyway, I do, I'm sorry. Running a screened bottom board, even in the winter, is not a bad thing. The biggest problem you're going to have in wintertime is your moisture. So the more ventilation you have actually helps dry that hive out, keep it dry. The bees can move around still, but they've got the ventilation to get that moisture out of the hive in the wintertime. If you're concerned about wind, you can do a couple different things of putting hay bales around the backside of your hives to cut some of that airflow down. Other things you can do would be political signs. Slide the political sign in over top of the screen bottom board, and that will help cut down the draft from up, from below up into it if you're really that concerned about it. I run screen bottom boards open all year long, and I haven't had problems with losing hives because of that. Other issues, yes, but not the ventilation. Ventilation seems to help. So you're going to notice your hives are starting to, at this point, a lot of bees will just be hanging out on the entrance boards. They'll be beardy. It's way too hot. They're out there on the front porch having the coronas, and hopefully they've got some limes. They're just trying to stay cool. Cracking your hives, you can take your boxes and you can offset them front to back.
See.
If you're going to do that, make sure that you're not cracking them. Or I didn't bring a couple boxes. I probably should have brought some gear with me, but +%, and that's one box, and this is the next box sitting on top, and they all match up very nicely. You take one box and just move it back so that you've got a little bit of ventilation at the top or at the front and a little bit of ventilation at the back. Not enough to encourage robbing, because that's going to be a problem. So you don't want to have that gap so large that yellow jackets, wasps, and everything can get in, but you're going to want it just offset just enough to allow a little bit of ventilation here and a little ventilation at the bottom coming up.
Popsicle sticks?
I'm getting to that.
Okay.
Popsicle sticks, as he's mentioned, shims of some sort. Those can be used. Nickels. If you take 2 nickels and stack them up on all 4 corners, so a total of 8 nickels, that will raise that next box up enough to get a little bit of ventilation in between. You can do that also on your inner cover if you're running an inner cover, or on your top cover. You can do it that way too. Looks like we've got a volunteer with some equipment that's going to come in here, so we can kind of show.
Paul.
You rock. Good thing somebody came prepared.
Exactly.
There's your second. Yeah, if you wanted to take that version, it should fit. I don't.
So, typical normal setup on your hive, right? Everything's all nice and smooth and adjusted nicely. Okay, now it's too hot. Now what are we going to do? Offset this about that much. Now, if you were to come up here, you're going to notice each one of these frames is cut and notched. Be careful. Remember how big a bee is. That they cannot, yellow jackets, wasps can't get in here. Take your next honey super and offset it this direction. Just that much. That's going to encourage a little bit of airflow to come out here. The next one, a little bit of airflow to come out here. You're still pretty much covered back here, but you do have just a little small crack right here. Thank you. Yeah, let's close that down. All right, star of the clown of
Lay down.
the class.
She's gonna go with you to now eat safe.
Lay down.
Lay down.
Behave yourself. You don't get to come out. Ouch. Down. Thank you, good girl. And cross your paws, pretty, and all that fun. Yeah. Somebody get a picture of that. So, what he was saying is, popsicle sticks. Lay a popsicle stick here, and it doesn't have to be the whole width of the, length of the popsicle stick. You can cut them in half or even quarters. Just right here, right here, right here. And then set your box down on top of it. That'll give a little bit of an air gap right here. If you don't have popsicle sticks, like I don't, because I don't have kids around or anything like that, nickels. It's about the same thickness. You can do 2 nickels on top of each other. It's pretty good distance, but it's not enough for yellow jackets, wasps to get in. The problem with raising your hives onto these popsicle sticks or these nickels is propolis. Now, if the bees have too much ventilation, especially going into winter, and you have not gone out and removed that, they're going to propolis that gap all the way around. And now you've got a layer of propolis that now you have to deal with. So it's management. You can't just go do something and then let it go and forget about it, because it's something that you're going to have to pay attention. Okay, now we're, September, October, and all of a sudden temperatures are dropping. Okay, now it's time to close these things back up, scrape the propolis that's been built up, and, get it back down the way it's supposed to. And then they'll go back around and they will seal these gaps back up again with the propolis. Go ahead.
Tend to drill a bunch of little holes in the side for ventilation.
You could. That's going to... They'll propolize those closed as they need to. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. I know some guys, they have a hole right here in the end of their hives. You're running top boards, make sure you have a ventilation notch in that top board so that as air is coming in, it has a way to escape. Again, this is management, this is proper beekeeping, because it's the ventilation and the moisture in the wintertime is going to kill them. If you seal them up and that moisture has nowhere to go, it lays here on top and then it drops down on the bees and you wind up with frozen popsicle bees. So you don't want to do that. But holes here, holes on the side, not necessarily a bad thing, but just remember, the more holes and penetrations you make, the more opportunity for robbing, and the more openings that the bees have to guard. So we're going into a dearth. We're going to start seeing robbing heavily. Entrance reducers. Yes, you want the ventilation, but again, that's why I said screen to bottom boards. And you can do a screen bottom board pretty easily by just taking your existing bottom board, cutting a square in it, and putting a piece of hardware cloth on it. You don't have to go buy a specially made screen to bottom board. You can take what you've got and make it into a screen to bottom board. I know there are holes in the tops of your covers. There's covers out there that, and part of the reason why those covers are there, that gives a good chimney effect for the wintertime moisture to be ejected, but also in springtime it gives you some place to put your feeder. A bucket feeder, for instance, right down on top, and then put a brick or something on top of that so it doesn't blow away in the wind. Obviously, it's not going to blow away right away because it's full of sugar water, but as they drink that sugar water and it lightens up, it could take a ride. So, questions about ventilation?
Do you suggest we reduce her on now due to...
I would be watching what's going on with your hive. If you see a lot of bees coming in and getting into fist fights at your entrance, yes, reduce your entrances. If everybody coming into the hive is getting along great and they're just marching right on in and there's no fights, I don't think you need an entrance reducer at that point in time. But if you see them, aggressively going after bees that are coming in, you got a problem. You need to reduce that entrance.
Mike, just for those that are newbies, you'll know. I mean, when your first time, you're like, I don't know what that looks like. You'll see them. They're spinning on the thing. They're trying to sting each other. Yeah. You will see it's like a wrestling match. And you're like, the first time you see it, you'll be like, okay, now I know. So tell that from deep, and usually you're not going to.
And a healthy hive is going to be able to defend itself. And the entrance isn't necessarily where those robbers are going to, they're looking to breach the castle in any weakness they can. If you've got your box offset like this, you will see tons of bees that smell that.
Sitting right here.
They are trying to get in there. They're flying around any crack that you have in that hive, trying to get into it. instead of going to the entrance and taking on a war, they're looking for any other way.
Yeah, any weak link in the chain is that's where they're going to go. So if I have a front door that is as wide as this room, it's going to be very, very difficult for me to, defend it. But if I have an entrance as big as this door and you come up, now all of a sudden we're going to go toe to toe and we're going to have a fight. So what she's saying is, yeah, you want the ventilation, but you don't want to make the ventilation so large that there are so many weaknesses they don't have the opportunity to defend and guard that entrance, wherever that entrance is at. So yes, holes, not necessarily a bad thing, but I wouldn't go over about a 3/16 inch hole if I was drilling into my woodwork. And I don't know that I would drill into my woodwork because I think there are some other better options for the ventilation. If you choose to, great. You may want to do a 1-inch hole and use that as an entrance. Now, I know Man Lake or
Davis.
Well, who else makes them? The spinner entrances.
The covers
Covers.
that you can open and close.
Yeah, there are a couple different. What's that? Danet. Yeah, Man Lake, Dadden, and you can probably find them at Home Depot or not Home Depot.
So,
At IFA, Cal Ranch, those kind of places. They're about big around, and there's a screw that goes in the center of it. There's a 1-inch hole, and then there's a kind of a multi-hole area right here, and then over on this third is completely closed. So you would the latch. It's got a pipe here. You drill a hole here. You put your screw here, and this thing rotates to what you want. So if you want them to have another full entrance, you can do that. If you just want to reduce it and make it so it's ventilation, you can do that. If you want to spin it and keep it completely closed, you can do that. But that's another tool in your tool bag and whatever for you to be thinking about using. Go ahead.
When we were in Washington, we always had to have a hole in the back, close to the top, and one at the bottom for ventilation between it. But on inside, we had a piece of screen, so nobody could come in and out of it.
Yeah, I mean, you can, but at that point with that method, not necessarily very big, but you don't have the opportunity to really go in and remove that screen if you want to, until, it's a situation where, okay, it's summertime and I really want to open that up and I'm going in and I doing a hive inspection. I pull all these and I pull the screen from the inside. The things that I'm talking about, they mount on the outside and you can adjust it from the outside.
Let me throw this in. So one of the reasons, especially this time of year, to add that feature on there and open up another entrance on that upper box is you've got these bees coming in with these bellies full of nectar, and instead of them having to come in and go in and go up the elevator to get clear up to your third box or even fourth box to deposit that, it's an entrance. So yeah, it's an entrance that they can come into the penthouse, put their stuff in, and get back out. So that just gives you the flexibility. And they're, from what I recall, they're like $5.
Yeah, I don't think they're very expensive. I personally, I don't have them on my hives. I may just go ahead and order a couple. It's not going to. I've got a couple of things I want to order from Man Lake, so I may just go ahead and tack that on to order.
And one of the, speaking to what you're talking about, one of the boxes that I got from Seth Homer actually did have a front and back ventilation or entrances. I didn't personally like it because of the way my hives are situated, that I couldn't watch. It wasn't, the back of the hive wasn't as visible to me. I think the netting across there helps, but I couldn't see that entrance to see if there was an issue going on.
Keep in mind, though, the state of Washington, you've got moisture and you need it.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, you're in totally different climate than we've got here, right? Yeah.
Neptune.
Well, we've got a couple different examples coming in, which are similar.
Well, you guys are amazing.
You guys are on top of it.
No
What? Yeah, you should be teaching class.
Me.
Well, that's a cool.
Homemade look like.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome.
That's
So
cool.
this is basically the same thing I was talking about homemade. Screw in the middle, vent, and spinning that around. That's going to get wherever it's at. There you. So
Open.
that's straight in. You spin it over here. It's closed off. You spin it over here. You now have
Ventilation, but no entrance.
but no entrance. So these are great little setups right here. I might just.
That's cool.
I've got the hardware cloth, the screws, and I'm pretty sure the plywood. So I might just copy that.
Those out back. It's like,
This is a little more fancy. You see the ventilations on the top,
I don't.
the side, and also on the bottom. So on his, observation height, he's giving the girls plenty of ventilation so that they're not getting congested in this small space. So these are fantastic.
I'll hear you.
I mean,
That. Good.
so I think I've beat up ventilation enough, haven't I? Okay. Watering. It's already been kind of discussed a little bit. I might want a couple plants and see
Good.
what they do.
They
See
got
what they
some.
do in my.
They will.
Buckets.
They will grow in your bucket.
They'll die in the winter, but that's okay. I can buy new ones.
Yeah.
I now have 2 buckets sitting side by side, just more as an experiment.
So you come.
To see kind of the difference of what my evaporation rate is versus my consumption rate.
You want cooks.
That makes sense.
So,
In the last 2 to 3 weeks,
cheating.
my bucket's just been, and I'm like, is it getting that hot that it is evaporating that much, or is there something else going on and they're pulling that much moisture out of the bucket? Well, they're pulling that much moisture out of the bucket. I filled it up this morning, both buckets, and the bucket that they normally go to, even though they're on buckets here and the other buckets here, this bucket's new to them, and I did add some lemongrass to try to encourage a little bit of something happening there. This bucket that they're normally going to, it's already down 1 inch from this morning, which translates almost to probably 2.5 quarts worth of water that they pulled off. This bucket right here hasn't dropped. So it's like, okay, it's not the evaporation rate, it's actually that these girls are taking that much water. So your watering stations, please maintain them, please pay attention to them, please keep them full. They need it right now badly. It's good.
How do you have anything floating in there?
I have corks. I have wine corks.
Yeah.
He gets them for me, but
Yeah, straight off of her.
which then
No, I've ordered them online.
they just went.
Just get on Amazon, do wine corks, and you can order 100 for, I think it's $10 or something like that. So regular 5-gallon bucket.
State written.
They're 5-gallon Home Depot buckets.
And you have a watering system filling them up.
I have.
Yeah, it's called a garden hose.
Yeah.
These, and then I.
I'm not that fancy. I could hook up a nice little, swamp cooler float, deal that when it hits a certain level that it, starts adding a little bit of water, and it's right beside my garage. It's right there. I see it all the time. It's not, my garden hose is right there. So I'm saying that's what's easy for me. What's easy for you and convenient for you is going to be, it'll vary. Doing something like getting it tied into a sprinkler line so that 3 o'clock in the morning when A, the bees aren't active, and 2, your sprinkler system is coming on and it charges that line. And if it's down, it fills it up until it's not, it's full. By all means, do it. Because that would very well work. It's out of sight, out of mind, and it simplifies your life where you don't have to maintain watching the water level. But for me, like I said, I'll let those 5-gallon buckets go for 3 to 4 days, and then I'll fill them up. Well, I'll fill the one up. Well, add that much to the one bucket maybe. But the other one, literally yesterday, it was down that far from the ribs. So that's a good 1.5 gallons of water that they've taken since Sunday. Saturday. It was Saturday I filled it up. So since Saturday, they've gone through that much water. Today I filled it up this morning. Like I said, they pulled a full inch off of it. So
Are your buckets close to your height?
they are,
I used to
hives are in the backyard, buckets are at the front of the garage.
75 feet over house.
Yeah, roughly 50 to 75. They have fly over the house.
I think the state requires you to have water source within 50 feet as part of the bylaws. I have 3 different water stations. I have one, there's people that say don't put them next to your hive, they'll poop in it or whatever. I've got one near my hive. I've got a bird bath set up for a watering station, and then I have this new aquatic one. And
So I've got 2 buckets going right next to the hive, and one is 20 feet away.
yeah,
I haven't seen the single thing you need.
Okay, they're too close. They're too close. Can't find it.
do you think, they even go to the one close to mine, so I don't know if that's it. Do you have other watering sources? Do you have a canal that's close to you?
Or it's in the pools.
Yeah.
Are they going to your pool?
They did initially to our neighbors, but now they've covered in both of the covers, so I don't think they're getting.
I don't know.
I have no idea where they're getting water.
They've got a car wash nearby.
So did you couldn't.
Got a car wash nearby.
We're up in Eldridge, so there's not a lot of water source there to sell.
I don't know.
I would move those watering sources probably 50 to 75 feet away.
Do you have lemongrass or a drop of chlorine? Worse too.
Down both washes.
Yeah. What do you have on the top of the water source?
And we cut trouble control. There's a tenant going. There's gold noodles.
Full noodles
So we have a place to
to lay on.
things.
And you have 2 buckets. All right. I just for your own experimental. 1, I would move them farther away. 2, I would go ahead and invest in 30 wine corks for 1 bucket. They'll have extras, but it's close to about 30 for 1 bucket. And just try it. See whether the pool noodles are the
Putting a
ticket
chemical.
or whether or not the raw cork is the ticket.
My wife just went and bought some of those water lamps. She did it, and so we're going to try to make less of
Yeah, that they smart down.
And then we have a ton of wasps that don't really like that killer stuff that we tried to get over. So we still have a ton of wasps.
I know my wasps will sit there and they'll come into the water station. I swat at them every now and again, but it's kind of like stepping on a fire ant hill and trying to kill one, just one. You're probably in this situation with stepping on the anthill, you're going to kill a boatload of them, but the damage you're going to do from killing one wasp at the watering station is probably nominal.
But he's just talking about wasps in general.
Yeah.
So,
wasps in general, good luck with that.
so he's tried the command into the cat food technique and hasn't seen a dent in the number of wasps.
So we put up right 560 wasps. Then none of those even went.
They didn't touch it.
They didn't touch it, and I thought, I thought for sure someone that gets stains, right? We should go after it.
I seen. I mean, there's stuff you can put in, you know, the cat food and things like that, and they take it back to the
Right.
and left the female and kill them. But I found just, you know, go out at night at the red light, you know where the nest is, the spray, and I'll give the spray.
Yeah.
In the nest.
If you know it is.
If you hang up an empty paper bag, you'll scare them off because they're very territorial.
You can buy a
They
fake.
have a lot of that's what like
Yeah.
use a this bag, they'll think that's the hive, and they won't come around.
They don't tear.
That's what their brother does in Alabama. Take it up. At his house, he's got a couple of paper bags, and he just
Thanks, understood.
hung up some because he had lost problem. So he just hung up some paper bags, and they haven't bothered. It'll still on the Christmas.
Yeah, those are options.
Maybe that's that.
The idea of the paper bag, like you can get online, order some, you know, fake ones that actually really truly do look. What were you saying back there?
If you do spray one, don't tear the nest out.
No.
Yeah, leave the nest there.
Ten nest, and they don't know that, and we'll fit by.
Yeah, leave the nest there. Just spray it. Do it at night.
Spray at night. Don't spray.
Yeah, don't. Yeah, spray at night. Obviously,
All the fires are up foraging.
most everybody's coming home at night, so spraying at night is going to be your deadliest kill for that colony.
And they get a fight and more white light.
The what?
That's why she was.
Yes, that's why he said red light, a red headlight.
I brought these to
Even if you're going out and you're curious about what your own bees are doing at 10 o'clock at night,
gave me my
talking.
water.
Yes.
Pay attention.
Sorry.
That's just
It's
Oh yeah.
it's Janelle's fault.
It's Janelle's fault.
It's always my fault.
You know the wine.
I got a little.
You know where the corpse came from.
Yeah, now Chatterbox is over there. Did you bring enough for the rest of the class?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Red lights. If you're really curious about going out looking at your hives and going, I do not go out there with a flashlight and go investigate. I promise you, you will be running back to the house very, very quickly, and you will probably get popped like I did. I still have, yeah, right about there, I think. They popped me in the back of my head. And yeah, that's a real good way to piss the bees off, is go out with a white light. Red lights, blue lights, a little less intrusive. I would say don't be so daggone curious, leave them alone. So what's my next topic?
Well, I know there's a lot of people that have questions. With this heat, they've had queens that aren't laying.
And there's not a lot you can do about that short of your ventilation, cool your hive down. That's just, you get hot and you get tired and you don't have the ability to keep a consistent temperature. The queen recognizes this, so therefore she's not as apt to be laying because the bees can't maintain and keep that larva and that brood cooled down to where it needs to be. Same in the wintertime, she's not laying in because it's too cold. They don't have the covering heat to maintain it. So this is just now the other end of that spectrum with the heat. Ventilation.
And the water adds to the ventilation.
Yeah,
because
that water is real
they
important.
bring it back as an evaporative cooler.
Yeah, it becomes a swamp cooler. They'll spit it out, they'll fan it, and evaporate it, and all this to help cool the hive down. So that's why your water sources are extremely important. Speaking of water sources, I had somebody mentioning something somewhere along the way on some forum about, hey, well, you got to make sure it's clean water. No, you don't.
It was on Facebook.
I don't know where it was at. It was on Facebook, yes, but it was something where somebody was saying, "Oh yeah, I clean out my, this is an ecosystem. The more gunk it's in the water, that gunk is actually oxygenating the water. I mean, at the end of the summer, you should see my bucket. It is just caked on the inside, almost a quarter inch all the way around with algae and whatever.
Ice.
You're talking about the biggest concern I think they were having was your mosquitoes. I've never had an issue with mosquito larvae inside my water station. I think the bees are keeping enough of when they're drinking, they might actually be plucking those little buggers out of there. And I really haven't had a big issue with that in my hives. I've had other little critters running around, kind of a water plug of some sort that's definitely, I mean, it's almost like a beetle. They'll swim around in my dog dish, they'll swim around but it's an ecosystem and it's balanced and it's healthy.
That's the pleasant benefit of putting 1, 2 cups and throwing into water.
Yeah, the chlorine will help kill the bugs, but it will also not necessarily totally kill all of the algae that's in there. It will kill some, but unless you're getting crazy with it, it's going to be a healthy ecosystem. These plants, that's why I'm kind of curious how they're going to do. I do have little weeds, volunteers, that I have seen growing in my water stations. And, they're only yay big, but it's some sort of a plant that landed there and it's trying to grow and it's trying to do something. So I'm curious about what these will do.
Bill is sick.
Yeah, that's I've read in American Bee Journal
Yeah.
that it's okay to put those mosquito
And Tom? Yes.
what do they call it?
Puppy.
Mosquito bugs.
It's a little round disc, usually has a hole in the middle. But it kills the mosquitoes, larvae. But it won't, they said it won't bother the bees.
I would be concerned just because it's a pesticide of some sort that's killing another critter. That's just me.
I don't care about killing mosquitoes.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. I'm just like, is that
Conservative.
I would want to research that myself. I have never heard of that, so I'm not going to disclaim it. I'm just going to say I would want to research that out a little bit more.
It's in ABJ.
Okay. You said Navy J?
ABJ.
ABJ. American.
Oh, no, never mind.
The other thing I was thinking about my little aquatic thing is there's it's like a guppy that is, the name of it's mosquito something, but it eats the mosquito larvae. So
Right. The goldfish were a great idea just simply if they'd lasted.
I might try them again. It might have been the oil I had on the surface of the.
Yeah, it might be something where I might go buy a couple goldfish and throw them in my water tank too, but, and just plan on them dying at this end of the year.
If you get a water aerator,
An aerator.
as long as you keep that water slipping, you will have bugs.
Yeah.
Also, you mentioned that you put some oil in. Oil on the top water keeps the
Insects from going down into it.
being able. Yeah, they can't go through it and they can't come up through it.
Yeah, but I don't know that there's going to be that much unless you're dumping a lot of lemongrass on top. I don't know if there's going to be enough of that.
Even a little bit. I mean, for what they do at lakes and ponds and other things, is just throw out the oil and it dissipates and whatever.
And suffocates the larva, the insect larva. I don't know if anybody's not familiar with what we're talking about here. An insect larva is kind of like me. If I'm the larva, I'm going to bend over and move back and forth. And that's how I move around. At one end of the larva is a little breathing tube, and they go up to the top of the water and they open that breathing tube up, and then they dive back down and start doing this stupid move until they're, coming out, hatching as.
Yeah,
But if there is that skim of oil on top of water, when they go up, they can't open that breathing tube up and actually get to the air. They're getting nothing but oil, so then they just suffocate. So that's what he's talking about, is that layer of oil on top of the water, preventing those from living. I don't know that I want to waste that much lemongrass oil on the top of my hive, but he's also right, it probably does not take much. Like if you have a healthy watering system station, I think the bees are pretty much taking care of the insects, the mosquitoes. Where else are we at with things?
Questions?
Yeah, cool. That's one thing.
quick Google search because they're never wrong.
Says mosquito dunks are a formulation of the bacterium Bacillus thuringiensis with Rolatus, blah, blah, blah. BTI. You can also find BTI in the form of mosquito bits. Mosquito dunks and mosquito bits are used to control the fluctuations special toxin treatment effects, other insects such as honeybees.
So they're mosquito pucks?
Yeah, it's called puck or bit. It's behind
Bit.
Puck or a bit?
And did you Amazon it?
Some of these got calculating shape for case
I'll look into this.
both to Skype on.
Okay. That's good to know.
Yeah, that is good to know if you're concerned about
Thank
that.
you.
Definitely look into those. Mite counts. How are you doing? Do you know? Do you care?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we care. We better care. If you're not aware of, what your mite load is, several of us can come out, help, try to figure that out. You can get the county inspector to come out and help do a mite count with you. Treatments, they vary, but remember, some treatments are not friendly to the temperatures that we're having. They're not friendly to your honey supers, so make sure you're reading your directions on your mite treatments. Make sure you're not doing something that's going to harm your bees, make them leave the hive, like Apivard. If you were yeah, I know. If you were to, like right now, I don't have honey supers. I am a bit blessed this year. But if you were to put Apivar on as a treatment right now, you might sterilize your queen, or you just might make them sconed. I think Apivar is one of those very, very susceptible to higher temperatures and formic acid. What's that?
Hot ground you can put on it. It won't go underneath fruit campaigns.
Yeah.
But can be used brandy and
Okay.
also the screen button is very that will help a lot.
Yeah.
It's too.
So the screen, another thing that the screen bottom boards help with, where she was going with that, is it's stream. So as the bees are attacking the mites, if they can get them off and drop them, they're going through the screen and they can't crawl back up. So that's another advantage to running a screen bottom board as opposed to a solid bottom board, because a solid bottom board, they can crawl across and come back up the side and get back on the bees. So mite treatments are going to be, or mite counts, be considering that. You want to keep your bees healthy, and if they're getting stressed out in these temperatures, they could just abscond. So you might go out, you might have lots of activity one day and go out the next day and go, what happened? Open up your hive and you've got nothing but robber bees inside of it. That would be a sad day. And as well as, where did the bees go? because they went somewhere. Usually, they're going to go somewhere. So, yep.
And no, very impressive. I agree.
Okay.
To where I am in the backyard, these trigger. And so I've switched out clean this week. Anything else I can?
Sorry, mic counts.
Excellent. I did a mic check this week as well.
Okay.
So
I didn't see any signs of robbers. Everything is looking solid. I don't see any signs there. Light issues or might's not an issue.
Okay. And here's the one thing about, a hot hive, like what you're describing. Very low mite counts. How are they doing on the brood? How's she laying?
He just
I switched her out is that there wasn't a lot of activity in the roots.
So not laying very well. Okay, so they're not happy with her. There were two directions I was going to go with this. Is she's laying really well, but they're aggressive. Could just be genetics. They're not laying very well, and so they're ticked because she's not doing her job very well. Now, mite loads being nominal. If you have a queen that's failing, yeah, replace her. If you have a queen that's laying very, very well, but she's hot, two choices: deal with it, or to replace her. But I would also be going, okay, how is the production honey-wise? So a lot of people have Africanized bees. Oh my God, they're gonna freaking, take my action. Those bees, my understanding of everything that I've learned, the Africanized bees are extremely aggressive, but they're extremely aggressive within their own house. Very, very low mite counts, very, very good laying, very, very good honey production. So it's a trade-off on would I want an Africanized hive? Depending on where I'm at, yes. Where can I put that hive and manage that in a safe location? You've got a hot hive, queen's not laying very well, yes, I would replace her.
I replaced her this week. How long?
it'll take your, I'm trying to say, it'll like back and if she starts laying right back ring with 21 days.
Well, you've also got a queen that has been laying in this to some degree.
Is it a maid queen or did you take your own?
Okay. So your next question to me is going to be, how long do I keep her in the cage, correct?
Well, I got her in the cage with a candy corn.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Have they eaten through that candy corn?
No.
Did you open the candy corn for them to eat?
No. Well, yes, it's open for them to eat.
How long did you, so you went in, you got your queen, you pinched her, and then what did you do?
Did you wait a day or did you put the queen in?
No, I put the queen in the same day.
Should have waited 24 hours.
But did you kill the old queen?
Yeah, I killed
Okay.
the queen.
Yeah, but even
They're going to, yeah.
they may kill that queen. You needed to have let them realize that they were queenless completely. Then the next day, and
But she's still in there. He can probably pull that queen out and wait a day and put her back in.
could if
Pull it back out in the cage.
See if they have stubborn truly.
yeah, make sure they haven't stung her through the cage. Make sure she's still itching.
See the reaction on the cage.
Yes, look at the reaction on the cage. Is just because I'm saying kind of made a mistake, I'm not saying it's 100% mistake. I'm saying it probably would have been best if you had waited 24 hours and then introduced the queen.
After that period, how long does it take? Another 21 days to see if it solves the problem? You said,
Well,
Was it a maid queen?
yes.
You're gonna, yeah, because the real truth is,
Yeah.
the mean genetics are saying, yeah, you got to let those die off.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna say I wouldn't.
You're
had a
still gonna
really,
be-
really mean hive, and I did the same thing, and it was still about 3 weeks, and then I was like, oh, they're not attacking us in the backyard. We can be in our backyard. So
Yeah. So it could be 3 to 4, maybe 5 weeks before you really notice a difference. But, as long as when you go do your hive inspection, So you pull that cage, and if the bees are really aggressively going after it, they have not accepted her. And I would pull her, stick her in the house, the air conditioning. I don't have a clean cage because I wouldn't plan on that, but I'm assuming there's some screen. Once a day, twice a day, wet your finger, go across. He's gonna come out with freaking hot. Are you kidding?
Oh my gosh. I'm like, are these people the best? They brought all your props for you.
You know what? Is this the kind of cage?
Yeah.
Okay. These holes might be a little bit big to get water to stick to that. So
You can take a finger of water and just run it.
yeah,
It's done for once a day.
just take her swimming once a day. Not quite that much. I wouldn't.
Just make sure there's
Some, like Matt said, I would maybe take a paper towel and wrap it around.
But just do
Just one side. Yeah, because you still want the ventilation, but
Lay that on a wetted paper towel.
yeah,
I just water like twice a day.
yeah.
Just
consistent.
Give it 24 hours, then reheat.
sharp.
Yeah.
If they're not,
If they're really aggressive,
Right.
and that's the other thing is if they're really aggressive, set her off to the side and go through this hive and see whether or not you got queen cells.
Yeah.
let's squish up.
Which I didn't as of yesterday, but I went through.
Yeah.
Okay. So that should be a good thing. You shouldn't have any eggs in there at this point. The thing can make queen cups out. That's one of the reasons why I said wait until 24 hours. Let them realize they are queenless. Then introduce. Okay. We don't need to really panic and jump into making a super cell somewhere to get a new queen because we got one. We're just not sure who she is. Give that 3 to 5 days for them to get accustomed to her scent and then release her.
The other thing that I would add, and Bruce can speak to this too, because he grows a lot of queens, is that when we're adding queens into a new package back in March, we're, letting her get out in 3 days. So we're giving them time to look, smell her, get used to her, that new package. But my understanding, putting her into an existing hive, I was told, as I did it from somebody who's very experienced, to let her be in that cage for 5 days before I let her loose. So you aren't going with the same queen protocol that you had with a new package. On that existing hive, leave her in a little bit longer. Do you have anything to do that, Bruce?
The packages that are already put together 2 to 3 days that well find it.
Yeah, on a new package, these guys are taking this and they're going like this and knocking those bees into a great big funnel, and they're going down in a package, and they're getting, it's a process. So everything that's getting knocked in there, these three frames might go into one package, but maybe these 3 frames from this hive and this one from another hive gets knocked into that package.
It takes a bit check it out. It's not on the box. Just surely should do what is right cognizant is the final.
Right, and you're talking. I'm being small-minded into the whole process. I understand the process. What I'm saying is you're going to have bees from all different colonies going into your package. They're all disoriented, and now they're being introduced to a new queen in that package. Then they're being transported from wherever that occurred to the distribution center, Leanites, for instance, or yours. Sat down. They've been there for 3 days in that package.
hopelessly queenless.
Hopelessly queenless, other than the new queen that's in there. Now you take it home and you dump it into the new hive, and now all of a sudden, maybe you're pulling that cork right away. They're eating it right away. Another 2 days to get through that. So now we're up to 5 days. All the bees are disoriented. Then they all of a sudden latch onto this. Now we're in a different scenario. Now we have an established colony. We pull the queen out, and we introduce a brand new queen, and now we've got problems with them accepting her. Give it 5 to 7 days for them to get used to her. Ideally, if you're going to pinch your queen, like I said, give it 24 hours from the time you pinch her to the time you introduce a new queen. Kenny, you would add to any of that?
You can't do those introduction cages where you put her over the top of some hatching brood, knock all the bees off, put that over, queen inside, and then she start laying, and those new bees come out, which to her.
That's all out. But has a change.
Yeah.
We'll do this just
Basically, what they're talking about is you've got your brood here, and there's a deal that goes across the brood, and the queen goes in that. You push it into your wax.
Yeah, I think she. But the way we do it, but I think with you take with a train, drawing spread, that's what they're going to get that carpet space, so that she can play if she wants to. Sometimes she will, and then they will attend to her
through that screen.
I think they're just kiddies. Put a new few days later to hold that cage out. I'd have had even trouble with them after they are.
Yeah.
So close to the times now, it's out to
Bruce, do you and Chris have queens right now?
Yes.
Okay, because there's a lot of people on our Facebook group that are asking about queens.
I have a few cheese and cooking for you made it faced right now. The rest of them will be out the night out here, going big about full size colonies. We gravy went this way to sell to be a past there. You see the
You have a question?
And where's the chicken stew? You throw a new chicken in a bunch of other chickens over them to feast, but if you have a little fenced-in area where they see each other, if you right around the back grass, they get to know each other easier. So,
yeah. So you want to keep her kind of segregated, just like what he's saying is, let everybody get to know each other and start playing nice with each other before you totally dump them into the playground and nobody knows who is and got the problem. Do you have any queens?
I do have some. I'll probably have some more versions coming out within a week. So
I know Chris Sargent. He's been working this year.
He's with me.
Yeah.
brand of course, Stan Walton.
Stan Walton. Yeah. So there are some resources. If you're on the Facebook page, make the post. If you need a queen.
Letty Anderson may have some.
Letty Anderson may have some.
These things.
Those are the I don't know what he said. Hey Gary, make a post and somebody probably chime in with something saying, "Hey, so and so, go ask them." See what we've got going on with that. What were the other topics? Moving on.
I think that was the main ones. Unless
Ventilation.
you got questions.
Yes.
So I watched the YouTube video where this guy blends basically it looked like a poster board. She was last. I'll let him put it on top of EI to shade and be like,
Yeah, and it gets back to hive placement and management to begin with. Where did you set your hive up at? Was it where it's going to get 100% sun 100% of the day, or is it going to be doppel shade in the afternoon? If at all possible, get some shade in the afternoon. That'll help keep them cooler down.
You guys have that and the telescoping cover, right? And then the inner cover. So I know that there's a lot of people that have put a phone.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Between, underneath the lid, but between that and the inner cover. And that I felt a ton, just like with beard hang. So you can tell the hive is cooler obviously just by doing that.
And I did that during the winter, and I didn't leave it on for the summer, but I heard people are having to really
bad.
So you got to tell the You got your regular inner cover,
Pull it out of your
okay, or your regular cover,
that.
and then you have a telescoping cover, which loops down over the sides.
That's what he's got down.
Okay. All right. On the inside of that,
You go to Home Depot.
go to Home Depot, get you some pink insulation, about 1/2 inch
Purple,
thick,
yeah.
3/4, and
I'll teach that.
get that cut and insert into the bottom side of that. And then when it goes down, now you've got insulation, sun's coming down, it's not beating, getting through as hard there. And in the wintertime, it's also helping to reflect some of that heat back down inside.
We still use your air cover.
Yes, still use your inner cover.
Hold it like where you're there. Same like that's empty.
Files. I putting insulation through the whole thing. How are the bees like? What is the traffic?
With the telescoping, they don't really go up and out. That
Do
telescoping.
you have a telescoping lid?
Yeah, so it's just the tongue, almost like a tongue bird.
Oh, because you got the notch.
And I have also seen people that are taking and propping. So you've got your inner cover, right? I run migratory lids, and so I have the hole in the top of my lids. But I see people with the telescoping ones, they're propping it. They're taking that top one, propping it to have that ventilation like that. So
Like this, if this was
Yeah.
a lid, you know, it's kind of like this.
Yeah.
Whatever. It gives a little bit more ventilation out one side.
So gives you a chance for robbing, right? 'Cause
Yes, it does.
well, but I've got that hole in my telescoping one too, so it's just like that.
But the upside is literally, you know, even on your telescoping or your migratory top, you can take a small little square of hardware cloth and staple it
Yeah.
on top of the hole.
Yeah,
Now you still put your sugar board on in the morning or in the spring,
that's true.
and they can still through that lick that sugar water off there, as long as it's close enough. It's not close enough that in the spring you could pull that wire off, reinstall it later down the road if you want.
So, you know what Mike was talking about, location, location, location for any house, right? The first year, my husband built me this pad in a perfect spot in our yard and took the time to lay brick and the sand and all, you know, to make this beautiful apiary. So he put my hives down there. Well, the problem with brick, and Jennifer's got this same thing where hers are located, is that brick absorbs the heat. So even though I had it in full sun, that brick was absorbing heat and my hives are so hot. And I tried doing umbrellas. I have moved my hives so they get morning sun and they get afternoon shade. And that has worked out best for me.
So it's just a big full constricting plant tree on the west side. It's
Yeah. So you may have solved your solution or create your problem.
Creating a solution for yourself, yeah.
yeah, the insulation really helps sun.
yeah.
So, yes, sir.
The styrofoam tank or whatever it is, chicken slug fajita. It's really like meringue chocolate. That's it. And so they eat styrofoam. And my style is that. So I use urethane, which nobody bothers that. It's a different chemistry.
Yeah, I think I had mentioned the pink insulation from Home Depot.
So is that
That's not really
Depot
urethane.
too? Okay.
Well, it's just different chemistry. It's urethane instead of styrofoam.
Yeah, it serves the same purpose. So, but yes, get something that, you know, the rodents aren't going to necessarily really want to tear into. I will tell you that I have one telescoping lid that has styrofoam in it, and the beams chewed at it. So what he's saying is valid. They didn't like it. They chewed the top, and I've got. It's not a complete and total hole, but I would say it's probably this big around in the middle where they have kind of chewed it and brought it and thrown it out.
Extra light and fluffy.
Extra light and fluffy, yeah. Where whipped honey comes from. Light and fluffy. Yes, sir.
I have a question on different topics. This is our first year.
Okay.
And then we're like talked with our mentor and keyword or something. Well, came up to different put our sports blogs on. It does really well. Seems like so it gets us wondering about harvest time. What I know people are harvesting right August. What's typical
Labor Day.
Labor Day?
And Terry will be covering that next month for next month's meeting in August. But yeah, usually honey harvest is around Labor Day.
One question I have for you is, when did you stop feeding?
About a while back.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not all in the button. So really, it really depends on what you're trying to accomplish too. If you want to, you just want to get all at once, and you weight stuff. Now, if you get in there, that thing's 80% plus gap. What hurts the partisan. Because one advantage of doing it now is you have you can get working with the arrangements, but get thing with I guess think cool. I was like, dude, it's just nothing wants to come out of the comb and.
You can go ahead and harvest one box right now.
At West.
Put it back on.
In the cell will be in the.
It may fill it back up. Or they may just take all of it's in there and backfill, the box that they're trying to fill right now. If you do put in a box on that, got open capped honey in it, in that sense, very careful about robbing, because everybody in the valley is going to smell that. So you could introduce a robbing event into your colony to the point that they want to leave. So just be careful with, throwing the boxes back on your hives is not a bad thing. So if they can clean it back up, I would encourage you to do it. But just remember, watch what's going on. It's another thing about your hot hive is it being robbed? How big of the entrance do you have opened up?
I've got fully open.
Full open, but you don't have any robbing going on?
I haven't seen any signs of
Okay. So as long as you don't see bees boxing at the front door, just rolling around and wrestling around like Janelle said, trying to sting each other, I think you're probably fine. But if you get to a point where you start seeing that, time to close the entrance down.
So are you talking about going after bees?
I'm talking about yellow jackets, I'm talking about wasps, I'm talking about
It's one sassafras, one's Italian. They're not going to go after each other. They're not.
Typically, they don't.
No, that's not the biggest issue is the genetics of the hive, and I won't hold those against you on those choices.
Since his business name is Carney Builders, we know what kind of bees he likes.
I will tell you, I do have a sassafras. I think I have probably a mutt or two, and probably an Italian. I don't know if I have a Carney right now, but no. Genetics of bees aren't necessarily going to. They're not prejudiced against each other, is what I'm saying. But they're opportunists. And so if you have a weak hive, they will take advantage of that weak hive. Doesn't matter what the genetic gives. It could be even an Africanized. If it's weak and an Italian hive is right next to it, the Italians come over. They don't care. It's a weakened hive. They want the resources that are in that hive, and it's an easy, grocery store to go to. So just pay attention to your hives. That will make them hot, is robbing. And when I say hot, I mean mean, aggressive. Pay attention to those things.
Are you still feeding them?
Stop last July.
Keep an eye on it. Right now with the dirt, so they're, like Mike's saying, they're looking for a grocery store. If there's no food sources out there and they don't have what they need, they may go looking. If both hives are both strong, they won't tend to invade each other but you may have to.
But your yellow jackets, your wasps,
Yeah.
they're going to be looking heavily at some at these hives at this point and further on. So pay attention to that. Be cognizant. Just go out every day, every 3 to 5 days, at least every 5 days, and give it a check.
I was just going to say, if you don't have a screen bottom board, closing up the entrance can be kind of detrimental. So
It can be.
one thing that I've done before, if you do see robbing, you can take a light colored sheath, spray it with water, get it cold, wet, and you put it over the front, the hive itself. The bees that live there can find their way back in because they can navigate it, and the wasps and hornets. So if you have a really bad robbing problem, I did it for 24 hours and they left them alone after that. I mean, I had like 75 wasps at the front, just
And here's another trick.
so there's other options.
You know, instead of using a piece of wood to close it down, use a piece of hardware cloth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, cut you a strip of hardware cloth about that wide and that long, and then just stuff it. You know, make a U out of it, stuff it into the entrance. That'll maintain some ventilation, but it closes it off to where now I've only got
2
you know
inches to put
2
trash.
inches. Yeah, there's my front door. Now I can
The tinker.
guard it.
This
If you don't have any hardware cloth, get me out. I got a roll it home.
church.
What? 1/8 hardware cloth. Yeah.
I actually have two very strong pipes. I harvested the honey out on last Saturday.
Good for you.
Let's see. But when I see the strong, they're active and going. But the bottom, I mean, I've been a chipper through it, 5 years now, and it's just to have it strong the side I've ever sinking. It's the cloud being spanned in and out. But the other hobby is, I mean, it's like half the size. I mean, I got parts and everything. It's all the same variety, just won't eye each other. What else in the top, it seems to me like the top of them was the queen's a little bit honey ballad. So when I go through the bottom, almost every frame has some honey on it, and she's kind of laying where she can't. There's room on top to has honey, but they don't seem to be using the honey pop out. Once it's in there, it seems to be staying there. Is there anything, I mean,
So you've got 2 deeps, right? And then honey super's on top, right?
actually have all mediums, but,
Okay.
well, and then you have 12 angles, count both of them and you try to,
I will hold that against you.
well, I think they didn't have 5 wrong. 5 was the highest that I 96. It's a least spark in P2.
Okay, so going into, do you know how many boxes you should be going into winter with on your setup? You're running mediums,
Yeah. Typically in the winter I'll have 3.
okay? So,
So,
I don't profile every week. And she's working all.
maybe that kind of,
You're working all those. You got bees in all those boxes in 7 to 10 frames on 5 boxes.
yeah, the 10 frame mediums, and then I have 5 high.
I know. You've got bees working on all of those frames.
They're not like empty.
All except for the top one. Well, the strong high was filled up, and so I tried to those late things. Yes. They completely build up the legs and they filled that whole thing out. So I've got the strong high did both. The weak high filled up the full high, but they don't touch the minis on top. So I can tell a difference between the strong and the other one, even though they bring in. And they seem healthy. When I open it up, actually looks good. It's just a lot of honey's in all over down low.
I get moved. In my hive, like if I'm working this and I get in there and that bottom box has 4 frames, I would take those 4 frames of honey and I would move them up to that second box. So in your case, you've got the 3 boxes that could be brewed. More honey, I could see more of that bigger arch in the top box. If not, they're not filling that 3rd box all the way full right now. But if I had those bottom boxes, I would just swap out frames and put empty ones down there. I put some that are just wax that she can lay in. So that's what I would do, and see if maybe she's just not well mated. It could be that, and so they're filling in because she's not doing her job. But that's what I would do to check it. I would move those frames that have a lot of honey. I'd put them up in that third box, and then put down stuff down there. That's how I would handle it. I don't know how other people would handle it.
Yeah, that's she basically said what I was going to say. Of maybe it's time to. Are you running plastic foundation?
Yes. Plastic, yeah.
Okay, how long have you had that plastic?
This year.
Brand new plastic this year?
Well, I thought, see,
Because you told me you've been beekeeping 5, 6 years.
it's here, right? The boxes that were there, have
What I'm getting at is how old is the foundation? Because that is also a contributing factor whether or not she's going to lay in it. Because each time she lays an egg, it gets encapsulated.
Pretty soon.
That membrane, pretty soon, she doesn't want to lay in that because it's so dirty from all of the previous hatches. So you may have a problem with
The frame.
the frames themselves. It's time to take this and pop that frame out and put a new
Foundation.
piece of foundation into it.
Okay, so related to that, I actually bought, I bought 2 cases of frames, and I put some earlier in the season. I put some of this new frame in the top and between the bottom. When it opens up, a couple months after it turned in, so they had completely built up the comb on the top and filled with the honey there. And when it went through, it was literally on the bottom. It's like I said, well, you don't have honey, because the same sort of put in the bottom, you never even built those out. It's like there's ignoring smooth frames on the bottom.
Were they waxed? Did they wax them? Yeah, were they waxed ones?
I didn't put wax on them. They were like they
Yeah, I usually put additional wax on.
How sticky were they? When you went like this to the foundation, you stick.
releases every night, and I brought that up last time, and I should fill that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we can each wear it. Then relative size sizes, along with the one that tied, because it's still out. There's no little part in my would be where.
Where did you put them in the hive? Are they in the center of the hive between like brood frames, or are they on the outsides?
They were in the on the bottom. They were in the center.
Next to each other.
I think you have 5 to 3 inches on one side.
Yeah.
And if you'll go those spies out, it's on your cell, give all this naked cuts.
One of the things that I might suggest you trying, if they're sitting in the center and they're not touching these 4 frames in the center, if they're working these ones and these ones, checkerboard them.
Oh, is it? Yeah. You put all 4
New ones.
frames
2.
in the center, or 2 frames in the center. Then about 5.
I've got 3 new ones that was still on the bottom, and I have like 5 long ones.
Yeah, you want a checkerboard, put them between 2 brood frames. I mean, open brood is really good. Put them between straight cone.
Okay.
You know, and what we're talking about is a practice that you could do now. Would not do this in the spring. Okay, you do not want to break your brood chamber in the spring.
Early.
Or, you know, that's going to kill your hive. Trust me, been there, done that. We're not going to talk about that. So, like I said, checkerboard them.
Oh, that's one.
Get them in between some brood frames. See what they do with them. They're still ignoring them. Sure. What's up?
They may not build out at this temperature.
Yeah, they may not build them out at this temperature because it's just too doggone hot.
Yes. Jake. Well, that's good like this.
Yeah.
And those spritzing them is like sugar wire, so decoration that would build on anything.
I don't think that's going to really encourage them to build on it. Or waxing them, adding wax. So get a little small crock pot, a little 2-inch horsehair broom, paintbrush, a Ziploc bag, some parchment paper on your countertop, beg your wife to go, bribe your wife to go to wherever so that she'll see what you're doing.
Shopping.
Yes, shopping somewhere. Here's the credit card, go bye-bye.
Clean up after yourself.
Right. But that's the key, clean up after yourself. She doesn't know what happened. Take your frames and paint some more wax on them.
Another option if you want to
Run raw foundation.
Yes.
Yeah.
But careful if you're doing that.
Med. What's another option?
You could extract your honey just if you want to use it down there and use those empty drawn out frames to put down there in a brood box.
Yep.
Since you're running LTVs. So a lot of times this was honey ones with
Much larger too.
They're deeper. Not as they're no bigger around. They can be deeper. And here's another thing. Okay, so
yeah, it seems like it just
you're running a 10 frame box, right?
yeah.
And last year you got honey. And you took your honey super and you were really diligent and you got them all buttoned up and you didn't have any wax moth. What's a good way to maximize
Take out.
your honey flow or your honey harvest next year?
9 frames.
9 frames. So you're going to separate these and they'll draw that out deeper. Lose 1 frame, go 9 frames, and Man Lake, a different place that they actually make a separator that goes down. It's a forked little thing that's got 9 fingers or 10 fingers in here, and they separate it out so you get your spacing even end to end. And you can increase your actual honey deal. Getting back to what I was saying about your frames, how old are they? How old is that foundation? It's one of the reasons why I run raw foundation, because it's easy to cut out and it's easy to replace. The plastic foundation, it's not worth it. I promise you, it is not worth trying to scrape this stuff off, scrape it off, take your pressure washer, spray it down, and then re-wax it, and then put it back in and hope he's got one.
And hope they reuse
And
it.
hope they accept it.
Yeah, they a lot of times won't. I found I have 3 years, and then they
They don't.
Demonstrate how this thing works.
3 years with that whole frame before you need to re-out the thinking now.
Before they realize I pop
I don't think so they make foundation in.
Another expensive help.
that Richmond's like for I just they need to put down in a quick box. Yeah, it took years.
Now all of a sudden you'll get a better honey harvest by removing 1 frame.
That's
you
nifty.
will
Did you
have
get that?
10 frames in there.
I did take it. It's funny that I says you have that fun.
That's good. Close.
Yeah, pass that around.
That's cool.
They have plastic ones.
Yeah.
If there isn't any other questions, I have 2 things that I forgot.
Oh,
Let me jump in here quick so I don't forget it with my Alzheimer's brain. Okay, at the picnic, we do a silent auction. You would like to, the money that we get from the silent auction, we use for BAB. And it does not have to be bee related. We've had people bring
fishing poles.
canning jars. I'm just trying to think of all the popular things. Cole brought some stuff last year that went leopard gloves that went like hotcakes. So things that you see that you would like to bring. We've had quilts auctioned, all kinds of different fun things that people have brought. Anyway, so that's number 1. Number 2, Ron contacted me from Africa. Here, do any of you guys have raw foundation that you want to sell your honey in raw foundation? If you do, hit me up. I've got the lady's name. Her name is Lindsay, and she is seeking us to get that. And I know Martin has been successful with the minis of selling to her, but
Talk about just like comb honey.
yes, comb honey.
That's what.
How much is she looking for? I had some. She'll buy it from.
She'll buy anything you've got.
Where do you see it?
She's out of Colorado. Yeah.
And she comes here and fixes it up during Ron, but he's going.
I know, so I think she's got the hook up with Martin, but so he gave me your numbers. Anyway, all right. The 12th of September was the 15th.
And watch back.
And it's Orange Cities in Your Heart.
Yes.
Yes.
I should find.
6 o'clock.
Yes, 6.
I'm joking. Good. Let's take them by each other.
No, they voted. They said 6.
I was like,
It was yeah.
All right.
Any other questions?
It was short.
thanks, Bert. Do you have any dumb questions? I really am novice. I don't go turn to it. But if I it's too hot to check RVs, but I think they need more space. Is it bad to just put another 10 empty frames on top without for sure knowing what's going on?
So as you pop your lid to add that other box, right? You're popping your lid. You're going to see how many frames they're working on just there.
Down.
Look down, measure.
Yeah, just look down inside the hive. If you see
bees on
these 3 frames, and they're covered here, but you don't see any bees on these 7 frames,
don't add the box.
don't add the box. But if you see bees from here to here,
add a box.
or here
Just
to
look
here,
down, you'll see what.
yeah, you're probably good to add another box.
Actually, they're
Little boiling out.
Yeah, or they're boiling out. They're just,
they just grow.
Yeah. But on Dr. Scoop.
Yes.
so that's not a dumb question.
Uh,
And the thing of it is, even if it was, it's not, because somebody else might not be asking the question but have the same question. So don't ever, it's a dumb question. There are no dumb questions.
There are. You've asked them. Just to be like.
Okay, don't challenge me to. I'm trying to be politically correct, and that's going far enough from you.
Could you break this out? Thanks, like that.
Anything else?
And that. Yeah.
Thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you.
After.